All right, we're going to do our read aloud today. We are borrowing a book from Mrs. Decker, and it's a beautiful book. It's so beautiful, and hopefully you will enjoy it so much. It is actually a really cool book. And then tomorrow, you can watch the video that goes along with it. So don't watch it yet. Watch it tomorrow. I'll put it right on here. All right, let's go to the camera. All right, this book is called The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lessmore by William Joyce. It has won an Academy Award for a short film, too, so you can watch that one tomorrow. All right. The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lessmore. Morris Lessmore loved words. He loved stories. He loved books. His life was a book of his own writing, one orderly page after another. He would open it every morning and write of his joys and his sorrows, of all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. But every story has its upsets. One day the sky darkened, the wind blew and blew. Look at that wind. It's crazy wind. Till everything Morris knew was scattered, even the words of his book. They're just even scattered on the ground and scattered pages everywhere, and the house is upside down. Look at even the buildings are upside down. Paper everywhere. He didn't know what to do or which way to go, so he began to wander and wander. Then a happy bit of happenstance came his way. Rather than looking down, as he had become his habit, Morris Lessmore looked up. Drifting through the sky above him, Morris saw a lovely lady. She was being pulled along by a festive squadron of flying books. Morris wondered if his book could fly, but it couldn't. It would only fall to the ground with a depressing thud. The flying lady knew Morris simply needed a good story, so she sent him her favorite. The book was an amiable fellow and urged Morris to follow him. So amiable means he was a friendly fellow. He was a nice fellow. So he tried to toss his book, but it just fell. And so she let him borrow his book. Humpty Dumpty in there says, "Come on." The book led him to an extraordinary building where many books apparently nested like birds. They're flying in like birds. Morris slowly walked inside and discovered the most mysterious and inviting room he had ever seen. It was filled with the fluttering of countless pages, and Morris could hear the faint chatter of 1,000 different stories, as if each book was whispering an invitation to adventure. Let me tilt it this way. Then his new friend flew up to him and landed on his arm. It held itself open as if hoping to be read. The room rustled to life, and so Morris's life among the books began. Morris tried to keep the books in some sort of order, but they always mixed themselves up. The tragedies needed cheering up and would visit with the comedies. The encyclopedias, weary of facts, would relax with the comic books and fictions. All in all, it was an agreeable jumble. Morris found great satisfaction in caring for the books, gently fixing those with fragile bindings and unfolding the dog-eared pages of others. So it shows, like, it looks like this page was almost ripped and like he's taping it together. See the little tape? So there he is working on the book. And this looks like a doctor's office, like to see if it has life still. Like, did it die? He's listening. And the book is so worried. Sometimes Morris would become lost in a book and scarcely emerge for days, just hanging on by every word. Here he goes, crashing through some words, upside down, ready to go anywhere. Morris liked to share the books with others. Sometimes it was a favorite that everyone loved, and other times he found a lonely little volume whose tale was seldom told. Everyone's story matters, said Morris, and all the books agreed. Now let's look at this picture. See how we have color here? We have color here, but these people don't have color, but this person does have color. What do you think the author is trying to tell you? At night, after all the stories that needed telling had been told and everyone had settled down to their proper places on the shelves, the great big dictionary would get in the last word. Zzz. It was then that Morris Lessmore would once again write in his own book. He wrote of his joys and sorrows, of all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. So there's his little book, partner sleeping. Here he is writing his own book. The days passed, just working. The books are like birds. They're just flying in and out. And here he is working under a tree. It's a very large book. And so did the months. So they're coming out to have picnic lunches with him, and he just keeps writing and keeps writing. And then years. Sometimes it might take years to get your story written. And now he's getting a little older. And years. There's no leaves on the tree. Even the books have canes now. I don't know if you can see that. The books have canes. They're old along with the gentleman. And Morris Lessmore became stooped and crinkly. But the books never changed. Their stories stayed the same. Now his old friends took care of him the way he had once cared for them, and they read themselves to him each night. So there's his little stories being read to him. Other stories are listening. Then one day, he filled the last page in his book. He looked up and sighed with a bittersweet sigh. I guess it's time for me to move on. He's telling his little friend, Humpty Dumpty. I hope you can see this. Now he's older. The books were sorry, but they understood. Morris put on his hat and took his cane. As he went to the door, he turned and smiled, then waved goodbye. I'll carry you all in here, he said, and pointed to his heart. The books waved their pages and Morris Lessmore flew away, and as he flew, he changed back to the way he'd been that long ago day when they'd all first met. Look, he's young again. The books were quiet for a while. Then they noticed that Morris Lessmore had left something behind. It's his book, said his oldest friend. Inside was Morris's story, all of his joys and sorrows, all that he knew, and everything that he hoped for. Somebody is coming through the door, and look, she's in black and white. What will happen to her once she gets a book in her hand? Then the books heard a small, expectant sound. There in the doorway was a little girl. She looked around with wonder. Then something fantastic happened. Morris Lessmore's book flew up to her and opened its pages. The girl began to read. And so our story ends as it has begun, with the opening of a book. What do you think the author means by putting some of the people in black and white, and then when they have a book, it puts them in color? Why do you think he does that? Does reading other people's stories and other stories that have been made up, even fiction stories and nonfiction stories and fantasy stories and science fiction stories, do you think they add to your life? Do you think that they change you? Do they help you learn and grow and be a better human being? What do you think? So your question today in our reading question of the day is going to be about this book. So hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow we're going to watch a little short film. It's called a short film. It's not really a short film, but it will make this book come to life in a film. It'll be really fun. All right, guys, go ahead and answer your question of the day on Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lessmore. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoy that book so much, and I think it's beautiful as well. And I think that you can find so many things about yourself and change so many things and learn so many things just by reading books. So that's why I always say, read, 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 so that you can take over the world. All right, guys. Thank you. I hope you have a great day today, and work hard and make sure you get all of your things done.